Hey everyone, so today we're going to be showing you how to make a day-night cycle in your Unreal game. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over to our light source right here, and we are going to make it movable instead of stationary because it needs to be able to move for the day to progress. The next thing we're going to do is go into our level blueprint. And the first thing here is we are going to make a new timeline. And we're going to name it day, night. Now to edit this, we are going to double click on it and it will open up this editor. And what a timeline is it basically lets you have variables that change depending on how much time has progressed since a certain point. So we are going to make a float track, which basically means we're going to have a float that will change over time. And we are going to make this length 300. In your real game, you're probably going to want to make it a little bit longer. When we actually implemented it, we made it about 1500, but just so it's noticeable in this tutorial, we'll make it a shorter period of time. So now that we have our float track, we are going to name this track Sun Pitch. Basically, the pitch in which the sun is rotating. And we are going to right-click and add a key to the curve float. And we want this to happen at time 0. And the value that we want is going to be -90. And we're doing -90 because that's about the angle where the sun is when morning starts. You can play with it a little bit, but that's what we found worked well for us. We are also going to add a keyframe at time 300 and value 270, also known as 360 degrees minus 90 degrees. This makes it a full rotation. So now that we've done this, we can exit out of here, and we're going to drag event begin play to play from start. So the cycle will start rotating the second the game starts to be played. So timelines have a couple things that you can have it do. The big thing that we want to happen is this update. Basically, every time the timeline changes, we can do something off of update. And so we are going to drag update to a set actor rotation. And just because we weren't dragging it off of something, you have to make it not context sensitive so you can find the function. But here it is. Now that we have an actor rotation, we are going to go get a reference to our light source because we want to rotate the light. So here we go. We highlight our light source. We go back into here. When you right-click to make a new node, if you go to context sensitive, it will say create a reference to light source. Perfect. So we are going to set that equal to the target of our rotation. We're now going to make a rotator node, and that's what the rotation will take. Make rotator. Perfect. And the return value of this is what will be going into our new rotation. And because we have our day-night cycle returning the pitch of the sun, that's exactly where it's going to go, the Y pitch. Now that we have this, the sun will begin to rotate with the day-night cycle. Now there are a couple things we need to do so that the colors of the sky update for the sky sphere. So we're going to go back into our level. We're going to go to our sky sphere. We're going to highlight it so we can get a reference to it in our blueprint. And here we're going to create a reference to our sky sphere. And from this reference, we're going to make a node called set refresh material. Just like that. And we want to make sure that that is checked because we want the material of the sky, aka the coloring of the sky, to refresh. And we're going to connect that to happen right after set actor rotation. So once the sun moves, the light source moves, then we can update the sky sphere because the sky sphere gets its color from the light source. So now off of this set, there's a couple more things we need to do to make sure that the colors actually change. So the next thing we need to do is make a update sun direction node right here. And once again, our sky sphere is going to be our target because that's the sphere where we want the sun to change. And now, if we were to run it, you will see that the sun is in fact moving. And you can see it moving along the sky. And we will let this run just for a minute so you can see what happens when it gets to become night, because Unreal is actually really good, and as the sun goes closer and closer to a nighttime rotation, the sky actually follows twilight and nighttime looks. As you can see, the sun is starting to set. And now the sun is starting to get a little reddish, a little pinkish, because it's twilight. It actually has a really nice feel and can make your game look really great when you want this. And you might see that the sun looks like it's jumping a little bit, and that's just because of how small of a time period we had. If you have a larger time period that the timeline will work with, then it will also be a little bit smoother because the sun has smaller amounts to change. And so it looks very twilightish now, and you see that the night sky is starting to look like a night sky. The orange starts to fade away, and you start to see stars and dark blue forming in the sky. And just a note, if these colors aren't exactly what you want for your game, you actually have a ton of different options of what you can change in the sky sphere. You can change colors, you can change the amount of clouds, things like that. And so that is the day-night cycle in Unreal. Here you see the stars starting to form. And so now one last thing we're going to do is we are going to make an is full. There are certain events that you want to only happen when it's nighttime. And so after we've updated our sun direction, we are going to make a branch. A branch functions just like an if statement in any other programming language. And so the condition that we want here is a less than float to float. Right here. Okay? And so we want to know if our sun pitch is less than 90, because as we said, once it hits 90 degrees, it sort of becomes nighttime. And so we're going to drag from our sun pitch to this one, and we're just going to set this equal to the constant that is 90. And so now we're going to make a variable, and we're going to call it is night. And so off of this branch here, when this is true, we are going to set is night equal to false. So you drag is night into there, and you hit set, and you connect this here and set it equal to false. And now we're going to do the same thing. When it's false, we're going to set is night equal to true. And now you have a variable that you can reference if you ever want to have something happen only if it's nighttime. You can say if is night and have that happen. And so now, as you can see, once you compile it, you have a day-night cycle.